your idea, it's been something that you talk about in the book. It was something that you had gestated on for a while and that had always kind of been with you. And comedy had always been a central part of who you were as a person. And coming up in TV, you said you kind of started, you were trying to find a way in, and your way in, I think, was through HBO. And you were kind of in the, I think, financial department of HBO, if I'm
Yeah,
correct.
that was crazy. I mean, it started, really the start of my life in comedy or the path to Comedy Central started when I was a kid. I love comedy. I don't know why that was the case. And I guess a lot of kids love comedy, but I really love comedy. I mean, I watched everything I could. I was 8 years old. I remember watching, some of the great Alan King, Richard Pryor. I saw the
Mm.
first time when I was very young on television. And I just couldn't get enough. And then when the albums started coming around, Robert Klein and George Carlin, I was on top of that stuff and wrote some stuff in high school and college. I did some performing, not stand up so much, sketch. Uh, but it was always like the second thing I was doing. If I was going to college, that was number two. Going to high school, that was number two. It was never the first thing I was doing, but man, it was always there in a big way. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was an important part of my personality to be funny, especially when I was a kid, when I had to, Richard Pryor tells us stories about her. He used to tell about, getting beat up as a kid on the playground and trying to talk his way out of it by being funny. And that, I think that's, I'm not going to say just me. I think that's universal.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people find themselves trying to, talk their way out of things and trying to be funny to do it because that's that's all they got left. We're backed against the wall. And it's funny, just to jump ahead, when we started Comedy Central, one of the things we saw was, people like you were watching and stuff, and we would talk to them, either they'd write letters or we'd do research and talk to the audience. And a lot of guys in high school said, it's really important for me to be funny because it's just, because guys who are funny, I don't know, they just seem to have a better time and make a bigger impact. So, that was one of the reasons that my idea to start a channel about the whole thing didn't seem too nutty to me. Yeah. Other people thought it was crazy, but I said, no, it's important to people. Comedy is important to people.
Yeah.
In a way similar to music. I've always said, it's similar to music.
Very parallel. Yeah.
But people didn't see it that way. Anyway, I went to college and I majored in economics. And when I came out of college, I got a job as an economist in Washington. Worked for 3 years. I was doing econometric forecasting models for the government. And I worked with some of the smartest people I ever saw in my life. I got to the end of the 3 years and I said, I don't think I could do this the rest of my life. So I went back to school. While I was in school, it was grad school, I wrote this musical comedy that was, part of what they did at school, a satirical musical comedy called The Wharton Follies. And I wrote it and it came out great. And it reminded me how important comedy was to me. So when I came out of school, I said, I'm going to get a job at, in television. And then I looked around and said, why is there no comedy network? I mean, I was just like, it was just, I couldn't figure it out. There were, so other cable networks were starting up, but there was no comedy channel. And I thought, somebody's going to start one eventually. So I'll just get a job and then, we'll take it from there. The way I got to HBO is amazingly, they were looking for somebody to do forecasting modeling. And a friend of mine knew me and that I did that. And he said, you're probably the only guy in the whole entertainment business who knows how to do what they're trying to do. Come over here and take this job. So I did. They hired me. And I did that. And you got to, I did it with the hope of getting into programming at HBO. I really wanted to do that. But, forecasting models was about the last thing I wanted to do there, I got to say. But I realized
in the door.
If I did that, oh man, I'd get some sunshine coming in. If I did that and I worked hard, then people would, take me seriously. And so I did. And then kind of like a year later, I got moved to an area called New Business Development. And that wasn't programming. That was also financial and marketing analysis. But at least I was moving around a little bit and people started to know me. So that's where I first decided to pitch the channel seriously.
Yeah.